All right, you can call to order.
Oh, here's Andrew. Okay. Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Andrew, we just see you coming in. That's great. Greg Stars will be joining us momentarily. So we're going to start with George. George, I'm Donna Bove, Chairperson of the Parks and Rec Commission. Don Delaquila, who's on the line, he's Vice Chair. There's Tony. I'm just going to say Tony's on the line. He's on there. Andrew's on the line. He's on the commission. Greg Starr will be joining us momentarily. And then, of course, Steve Wood and Debbie Dennis are on as well. So with Jen. Okay, and I see someone else joining us. So, George, if you could, maybe introduce yourself. I guess you have his address, Jen, right? For the record.
Yeah, George.
Yep.
Face to the name, Jen. We've talked on the phone and email,
Okay.
but so
Nice-
this
nice
is
to meet you.
good. George is the new president of Berlin Little League, so thank you for coming and just putting a face to the name. And yeah, if you want to just give a little bit about yourself, this is really all this is an introductory, and see if you have any
Okay.
questions for the commission or me.
All right. So like you said, my name's George Salino. Been a resident of Berlin for, 10 plus years. Have 4 children in town, an 8th grader, a 6th grader, second and first grader. They've all been involved in some form or fashion with Little League, rec basketball, soccer, you name it, we've pretty much done it. And I've had the opportunity in the last couple of years to be involved with Little League, coaching my boys. The 3 oldest are boys, my youngest is my daughter. And got involved in coaching and then got involved with the board. And then here I am today as the president now of Berlin Little League. So, I'd love going forward to establish a great repertoire between us and I know that Steve joined our board meeting the other day, so I appreciate that. And just make sure we're following all the processes according to how Parks and Rec would like us to do it, and make sure we're contacting the right people and we're not, bouncing back and forth between the wrong people, wasting your time. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that we're also following the rules and doing everything we should, above the board as far as Little League goes and using the fields here in town.
Great. Well, we appreciate you coming in and introducing yourself. And, please, I know you work in Little League has worked very closely with Steve in the past and Jen. And so, obviously it's worked very well. I'm sure it will continue to work well. And if there's anything the commission can do, if needed, if there's anything you need to discuss or whatever, we're available as well. We meet once a month normally, but we can always meet if there's any issue, emergency type stuff. We could call an emergency meeting. We haven't had to do that, but, just know that we're here. So.
Okay. Yeah. There might be some questions I run by Jen via email as we figure out. We don't have a succession plan. So we're just trying to figure this out as we go, and we're documenting the process. So whoever comes after me has an easier go. So we're trying to just figure this all out.
Do you have a vice president?
We do. It's Patrick Kelly. And I can send that information on to Jen or whoever.
Okay.
I already have that info. I've added him to my field users email as well.
Okay. I also probably should have said that I also coach rec basketball, so I've seen Debbie in her emails, and so I've been doing that for a couple of years.
Actually, Debbie mentioned the last meeting that you're a good guy. So since Debbie said that, we're kind of concerned.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's great. And with 4 kids, I'm glad to see you get involved. I'm sure the time is tough for you, but my kids are grown. I can only say it's all well worth it. So
the years feel like days at this point. It's going very quick. So anything we can do to get involved and help out, we're happy to do it. So it's fun.
Any other commissioners have any comments, questions?
Jen, can you forward to him a copy of the banner policy?
Yep. Yep. I was going to follow up with him tomorrow. George, I was going to shoot you an email tomorrow, along with checking in on how your reservation forms are coming, as well as, the banner policy.
I have them filled out and printed. Can I just take pictures of them and send it to you, or do you need them?
Absolutely. As long as I can read them, that's all I care about.
All right.
And Tony, great. I had that on my list. I just didn't want to overwhelm the poor guy with everything all at once.
I know, it just.
But I
you
know
it's
that's
just-
coming up next
It
meeting.
just, yeah, it happens to be coming up next month, so I just wanted to make
Yep.
sure he got all the info.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions, George? No? All right. Hey, thanks, George. We appreciate you joining us. You can certainly stay on or, sign off as well. Get back to your 4 kids.
All right, yeah, that sounds great. Thank you very much. Nice to put faces to names.
All right,
Appreciate
best
it.
of
You.
luck.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yep. Have a nice night.
Yeah, thanks. Bye. Okay, next is Patrick Fisher. Patrick, good to see you again.
Good afternoon, good evening. Nice to see you guys. Thank you for having us. For the record, I'm Patrick Fisher with the Connecticut Sports Management Group. We run the Nutmeg Games, the Masters Games, and various other events. The Connecticut Sports Management Group is a 501c not-for-profit corporation. We've had a long-standing relationship with the town of Berlin. You guys have been extremely gracious in providing us with some fields, and working with Jen and Woody has been great over the years. For the past 12 years, the Nutmeg State Games has been hosted by the city of New Britain. In 2022, the Nutmeg State Games and the Masters Games moved to a new host city. And I didn't anticipate having to use much in Berlin this year, but we've been thrown a couple of curveballs in January that we weren't expecting. We were slated to be, at various locations in the city of Middletown. Wesleyan is still under a no external client mandate, so they won't take any rentals from outside clients. And then we just found out a couple of weeks ago that Middletown High School, their track and field turf stadium is going to be under construction for the duration of the summer. So
Good to know.
here we are again. So we wanted to submit an application for the use of Sage Park for various events, soccer, field hockey, and girls lacrosse, and then also use Beretta Field for some baseball. And as in previous years, we're asking for a fee waiver for no rental fees, but we cover all associated costs in regards to park staff, cleanup, lining, grooming fields, setup, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, and Patrick, just to go back, so you're using the turf field for soccer, field hockey, and lacrosse, and then
Correct.
was there another one?
We would like to use Beretta for baseball
Oh, Beretta, okay,
for the older
And they're
kids.
also using Sage Auxiliary for a few things too.
okay.
And at this point too, we have plenty of facilities in Middletown. The main thing that I really just need to get situated is the girls lacrosse and field hockey, because there's no other turf surface in city limits in Middletown. So really need to identify that location. And obviously the new turf at Sage, the stadium there, would be an ideal location for us.
And Patrick, for the commission, as you know, we do not have field hockey lines on Scalise. So can you talk a little bit about what your plan was for that?
So both our field hockey tournament and girls lacrosse tournament is 7v7. So we make one giant field, a football field, into 2 modified fields. And what we've done over the last 15 years at 4 different locations, including Sage back in 2010, was we put some baby powder down on the field for some lines. We use cones for like the end lines, but for like the arc and around the goals, we put baby powder down. And we've talked to probably 2 manufacturers of the field turf, and that was their recommendation instead of putting like temporary lines down with paint. And we've done that at Venerard Stadium. We've done that at Conard Stadium. We did that at Danbury. And obviously we did that at Sage in 2010. And the powder comes off within a day or a rain.
So in the packet was a chalk. Is that's
Baby
separate
powder.
from the baby powder?
Baby powder.
Oh, the chalk is a baby powder?
Steve, do you want to
So
chime
we
in?
reached out to our architect who designed the field and asked them what they recommend that we would use. And they came back with Pioneer makes a chalk that is an aerosol can that once moisture hits it, it washes away. Their concern was the manufacturer and their architect was with the talcum powder, is that going to clump? Is that going to somehow modify the playing surface that is currently there now? and their recommendation with, let's go with Pioneer's chalk that's in the packet.
Okay, and that's what's going to be used then. So,
Well, no, Patrick is requesting to use the baby powder.
oh,
Right,
okay.
but Steve, hold on, we should use what's right for us, not what's right for Nutmeg.
Right, I
agree.
just want
No,
you
no,
guys
that's
to know
what,
that
just to,
what's
right.
in the packet was after Patrick had told us about the baby powder. We did our own research. Patrick has no knowledge of us recommending this product yet.
Okay, so
all
two
news.
things.
What do you want?
One is Patrick wanted to use baby powder. You guys came up and did some research and the chalk is the best alternative. Patrick, do you have an issue with that?
I don't think so. I mean, I'll have to do some research on the product, but I don't think it'll be a problem.
And I know just personally, and again, probably not this baby powder, but there have been, with baby powder, there's been issues with women, young girls using baby powder and, cancer causing and things like this. So I have no knowledge about the baby powder. That's why I was kind of interested when I saw the packet. I said, okay, well, this is a chalk. So I didn't understand the difference either.
Yeah, I
So-
didn't know anything about that. prior
Yeah,
to.
but Patrick, bottom line is that you're gonna have to use what we recommend. Steve's in charge, and if Steve says that's what has to be done, that's what has to be done. There's no baby powder in the mix. So you could do the research that you want, but at the end of the day, whatever Steve recommends is what we're gonna agree to go with.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that, Don.
No, I'm just letting you know, because you said you had to go back and research.
I just want to find out what the product is. I've never
Okay.
heard of it.
Okay, all right, well, I want to make sure that it's on record that that's the decision.
Understood.
Patrick, I'm emailing you right now.
Yeah, can you send him the info on it and where he
Yep.
can get it? We
Yep.
have an in-town supplier or something like that for it, so you can. he
We
can-
don't have an in-town supplier. It's
Right.
just online.
Okay,
I'll reach out to the vendor tomorrow, and if Patrick can't buy it directly, we'll buy it through public grounds and back charge it on Patrick's rental fees, if approved.
That works.
Yeah,
Sounds
that's
good.
fine.
Yeah, okay. So would be, any approval that the commission would be given would be based on using the chalk. And another thing, we've talked about this many times, Patrick, in the past, right? Sponsorships, trying to get Berlin out there in our fields and all that kind of thing, advertising, if you will. I know that the main hotel that you push is the Best Western that's here in Berlin on the Berlin Turnpike. And I know in past years, it's been full during the Nutmeg games. So based on the write-up that I saw, you're intending to do that as well.
Correct. Yep. We're in the process now. We've pretty much got all of our dates and venues identified. So the next step will be identifying hotels for events and making recommendations to our participants. But we always use the Best Western Plus. They've been great to us and we've developed a relationship with them over the years. So
Right.
it's convenient to everything,
Okay, great. And I did have a opportunity to talk to Chris Edge, our economic director.
Mhm.
And, he's very favorable on the Nutmeg games. I told him there seems to be an increased use this year for Berlin. And one of the things that he mentioned is he has some marketing money available. And he'd like to work with you and focus for those people attending at Sage and at Beretta.
Sure.
If approved, he'd like to focus his energies towards those people for perhaps restaurants. Maybe there's something else he'll come up with where they, have a lunch or dinner or whatever and provide that feedback. But he would like you to get in touch with him prior, let's assume the commission approves the use for Nutmeg games, then it goes to our town council and so prior to going to our town council meeting, which Jen, this would be presented at the next town council meeting?
you're on mute, Jen.
You're on mute. Jen, you're on mute.
No,
Okay.
the next town council meeting is Tuesday, so we would not get on then. We would get on,
Okay. So probably 2 weeks from that Tuesday. So it sounds like you have time anyway. You could get in touch with Chris, even give him a call tomorrow. He's expecting, a call and assuming the commission approves. And then he'll work with you and they'll target something. And, you know, he has some funds available that he'd like to dedicate to Nutmeg because he thinks it would be a big win.
No, that's great.
March.
I know I have a really good relationship with Chris. He's a former board member of ours, and I
Yep.
just put him on my call list for tomorrow. So I'll reach out to him first thing.
March 2nd is the next town council meeting, so we have time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and that would be something that would want the town council to be notified when it's presented, you know, that you have made contact, you're working with Chris Edge on marketing.
I will
Okay.
fill Jen in on the conversation.
Yep, yep, so that they're knowledgeable. Okay. Commissioners, anybody have questions of Patrick while he's here?
When you use the Scalise Field, do you use the building itself, bathrooms, kitchen,
Right.
all of that?
Yes, sir.
You do? So you guys run a concession stand?
No, and that's what I wanted to offer up as another option for, you know, a program in Berlin to run concessions for us. We just don't have the staff anymore to be able to run concessions at our event and then man all of our events. So, you know, that would be a really good opportunity, you know, especially with the girls field hockey tournament and the girls lacrosse tournament, because you have a great deal of people there that are going to be there for anywhere from a 6 to 10 hour day to make some money through concessions. You know, and I would be even happy to donate some products to them once I get our food inventory list done. So,
Hey, Tony, we did that one year with the boosters when I was
Yeah.
when I was the president. And I think we did it up in the baseball field, Patrick, if I recall. And we sold Gatorades and peanuts and sunflower seeds. We didn't actually cook, but we sold drinks primarily. And what it was like a Friends of event. I can't remember what team did it. They made a few bucks.
Yeah.
So something to think about in the boosters.
When you have your schedule of dates all hammered out, could you pass that on to Jen so she can pass it back to us? Because I could distribute that to the boosters and see if there's anybody that, you know, be willing to do that. There's teams that are set up for concession stands, so they may be interested in it.
yeah, no,
Yeah, I
I would
already-
be happy to do that.
Yeah, I
Okay,
already
good.
have those dates. Patrick, we might just need to finalize as it gets closer, but Tony, I can give you rough draft dates.
Yep.
Because I was also going to send it to other groups that we know that can set up a
Okay.
concession.
That'd be great. Thanks.
That's a
Yeah,
good
and I can
opportunity.
tell you too, Tony, like the field hockey tournament and the girls lacrosse tournament, the way we schedule those events, there is an age group that's there for, so you say it's 8 to 10 teams, right? So you're talking, you know, 120, 140 young ladies and their families will be there for anywhere from 4 to 6 to 7 hours. So, you know, and then the next group comes in behind that. So you have a whole new other group of people. So it could work out for whoever wants to, you know, kind of take that on to concessions.
Yeah, okay, good. Awesome, thanks.
Absolutely.
Great. Anyone else? Greg? Andrew? Greg, I can't hear you. Can anybody hear Greg?
No,
No,
I can't hear you.
and
no.
he's not muted.
Right, you're not muted. Can't hear you.
Now you're muted.
I know, but I mean, I don't know
There you
why
go.
it's not.
Now
There
you're
you
good.
go.
Now you're
It
good.
just came on.
Yeah, that's nuts. Okay. All
Okay.
right. Oh, now the green light's on. Okay, cool. So, first of all, I think it's great that you're going to work with Chris Edge to leverage some of the businesses in town as best we can. And it's a great offer about the concession stand. Like Tony said, we'll have to figure out what to do. The other thing I don't know how you want to do that, but even maybe lacrosse might want to get involved. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like a win-win, right, Tony? I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
some
is
of
in
the
the summer. That's
one of the
easy.
most natural teams to do it is swim, actually, because they're usually all set to go with concessions because they run the football concessions,
Oh.
and the men's and women's soccer concessions. So usually they're ready to roll.
Oh, cool.
And Upbeat is also another group that sells concessions, and they're all usually ready to go too. So there's groups out there,
Cool.
you know.
Right.
I just don't know if they can get the people together in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
you know.
Right, right.
I think nutmeg is usually in July, right?
Correct,
Yeah,
correct. The nutmeg games run from July 9th through July 31st.
yeah. Sometimes that's the tough part.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah, the request on the consent agenda is the July 14th through the 31st. So. Okay, anyone else? Don, you're all set with questions?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay. All right, Patrick, I think we really have the information that we need then. And you're welcome to stay on, or Jen can give you a call tomorrow. The commission has a couple of other things to do before it actually discusses and votes on it, but she'll give you an update tomorrow. Okay?
Great. Thank you guys very much. Appreciate the
thank you.
support.
Thanks for
Okay,
coming
thank
on.
you.
Have a
Good
good
luck.
night.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, so that other person must have been, Rick must have been with nutmegs, I guess.
Yeah, Rick works with Patrick.
Okay. All right. Okay, approval minutes. If we do, there shouldn't be a lot of discussion. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 13th?
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead,
Okay,
Go ahead.
Don makes a motion, seconded by Tony.
Greg.
Any discussion?
That's good.
None? All in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Hi,
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes approved. Next is election of chairperson and vice chair.
I'll make a motion to nominate Donna Bove for chairperson for the year 2022.
I'll second it.
Okay, are there other people that would like to be chair? I mean, okay, hearing none. All those in favor, and I'll abstain, to elect
Aye.
Donna as chair.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Vice chair, I'll make a nomination to have Don Delaquila continue on as vice chair of the Parks and Rec Commission.
I'll second.
Thank you, Greg. Is there anyone else that would like to be vice chair? Anyone want to nominate someone else? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
I
All right.
abstain. I abstain, just for the record.
yes, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you very much, that's great. We'll move on. Consent agenda is Connecticut Sports Management, so Patrick's request. Can I have a motion to accept consent agenda item 4A?
I make a motion to accept consent agenda 4A.
And I'll second it.
We
Thank
just,
you.
do we need to
Okay.
change the dates, Donna?
And then now let's have discussion. So go ahead, Greg. You have a question on the dates.
All right, so we just have to change it to 7/9. Is that correct, Jen? That's what Patrick just said.
No, the nutmeg games start July 9th, but his request to us does not start till July 14th.
Okay,
There's
cool.
nothing on his request before July 14th.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I do think it's important that we make sure that we would approve this consent agenda item. My recommendation is with the amendments to make sure that the chalk is used as approved by the Parks Department, and also that Nutmegs get in touch with Economic Development, Chris Edge, before the town council meeting, and that our approval would be subject to both those items.
I agree with that. I think
I do
that
too.
any use of our fields, Steve Wood needs to be in charge of what goes on that field regardless of anyone. So I agree with that, Donna.
So you want me to
Tony?
modify my motion?
Yes,
Is there
please.
any other further discussion? Okay. Okay, so you're going to modify. So what do? We vote this down and then add
Just,
in?
no, Dana
Subject
can figure it out. Tony, just make the modified
So
motion. out loud.
I make a modified motion to accept consent agenda item 4A with the provision or stipulations that the Nutmeg Games use the chalk as recommended by the Parks Department. And do not use any baby powder on the field. And that they get in touch with Chris Edge from Economic Development to work up a marketing plan.
And
I'll second that. Oh, sorry, Donna.
Sorry.
no, and that confirmation of that discussion of marketing is presented to the town council. Chris, that's Chris Edge wants, so.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Okay, done.
Yeah. Hey,
Uh,
Jen, just
Yeah.
one thing. He needs to pronounce Berlin the right way. Yeah. I mean, well, only
After
because
this many years, you'd think.
I'm just on because I'm sure you all seen those hats that have come out of the Berlin Fair that have the
Yeah.
Berlin. So
Yeah.
you may want to make sure he knows our name
Maybe we
correctly.
should buy him one and give it to him.
Good idea. Okay, we have consent agenda items B through E. We've already in the past, last year, we talked about items C and D. I don't know if you want to take these one at a time, or are you guys okay to do B through D as one motion?
Maybe B, C, and D. I guess I gotta get some clarification on what E is.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a story there.
Separate. We'll
I
do
wanna
that one
I
separate.
wanna talk about E before.
Yeah,
we-
there's a story there.
Yeah, because I'm curious what that story is.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
B,
so-
C, and D we've done every year without
Okay.
fail.
So Andrew, do you want to make the motion to accept B, C, D?
Yeah, I make a motion to accept items B, C, and D in the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, B, C, and D? Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
thank you. Okay, let's make the motion for item E. Can I have a motion to accept
I'll
agenda?
make a motion to accept consent agenda item 4E.
Greg, you want a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, all right, discussion. Go ahead, Jen. Tell us what
Okay,
this is about.
so Stephen, chime in if I'm missing something. So last summer, I want to say it was June, July, I don't have the date of that one. A semi-pro football team called the Connecticut Tar Heels came and rented Scalise Field for a semi-pro football game. As it was an outside group on Scalise, they did pay extra for Stevens ground workers to be there to open the gate, make sure everything went smooth. They were a great group. There were no issues whatsoever. So when they reached back out to us in September for another game, we thought, this is great. This is, more, usage on our field by an outside group that always benefits in a little bit of money being put into the Sage Improvement account. So we thought, yeah, we had no problems with them. Steve, once again, they paid for Steve's guys. He had one guy there because it was such a smooth event last time. Turns out a fight broke out at the end of the game. Turns out there was also, when they told us we would have about, 20 to 40 spectators, they ended up having about 400 spectators.
Oh, Jesus.
But like I said, we had no way of knowing because the June, July event was not like that at all. And it was the same exact team. So when I found out about this, I talked to Chris Susi from the police department. He told me that by the time the cops got there, everything was kind of, it wasn't like a brawl. It was just a fight. The teams broke it up. And I think two cops responded or three cops responded, and they kind of stayed there until everyone got off the field and everything. So we have already, decided that from a department point of view, we're not going to rent to that group again based on the issues. We did reach out to them to try to get extra payment because our grounds worker was there an extra hour and the field, they were there an extra hour because of the incident. Unfortunately, we did not get payment from them. They never responded. And due to how little money it was, the town attorney and the town manager have decided we're not going to go after them for that. We're just, wiping our hands. We're not renting to them again. But looking into, sometimes we do happen to get requests for semi-pro football leagues. We've we would like to add to the field policy that anytime a semi-pro football team would like to rent our field, we would like to have them work with the police department and make sure that there's a cop on site during that game. So this doesn't happen again.
So that makes sense, but Jen, from a police standpoint, I mean, a fight can break out with any type of event, right? Should this be modified to maybe not just focus on semi-pro football, but maybe if attendance is expected to be X? I know.
So the PD already has a rule in place that if an event is over 100 people or more expected, I always reach out to the PD. I had that agreement with John Kled. It's actually something that he has along the police force. If there's ever an event, 100 people or more, we've always given them the heads up, and I've given them information on the event, and they've decided whether or not to put a person there. So we've already doing that. But if I have this group and it's a semi-pro team and they're going to tell me it's only going to be the teams there, I still want to have this in place that we can put a police officer there due to the nature of the activity.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Makes sense.
Any other questions?
Hey, Jen, did you give any thought to, do they pay fees up front or anything like that? Isn't it better for them to pay even for another hour if they think it's going to last if we think it might last longer than that, for them to pay, so at least we have the money versus trying to go after them?
It's something we can think about in the future, but usually we're very generous. If it's a 1 o'clock game, we're usually tacking on. Remember, when we book fields, we don't book in half-hour increments. We book in hour increments. So it's kind of, we've always booked with plenty of time for them to have their event.
Right.
Like I said, we've had other semi-pro football teams there and we haven't had the issue. And I hate to penalize all of the teams that want to come rent with us, but I just think based on what happened, we have to put something in place.
Makes sense.
So when
Any
they pay you for the usage, they pay when they rent right up front
Correct. We do
based
not
on
issue
your estimate.
we do not issue a permit until they pay up
They
front.
paid it. So then this
They don't give
extra
you a
work,
deposit.
we didn't know about it until afterwards, after the
Correct.
event, that there was an extra, whatever, 2 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not looking to gouge anybody or make any extra money. If a thunderstorm rolled in during the middle of this, we would not charge them for the thunderstorm.
Yeah,
Grounds department would absorb that cost because Mother Nature has nothing to do with it.
yeah.
And I was at the first game in July, and we'll say there was 25 people there, football game, kickoff, bada bing, bada boom, done. They walked up, locked up the doors, and everything was over and done with. You never would have saw what happened in the September event ever happen in the July event. Everything just unfolded the wrong way. So I don't know if that
But
makes
how? Like how? Why? Like why did they have 25 people in one and 400 in another? I mean, it's not like a small swing. It's not like 75 people. It's 400.
right. I can't speak to the amount of people there of the 400, but what it sounds like is two players on the same team started fighting and arguing, and it escalated from there.
Yeah.
It wasn't team A and team B, it was team A and team A, and then it escalated from there, and then team B got involved because team A then started something. Then some guy had a panic attack, which exasperated the whole entire thing with somebody calling 911, and the cops came for the panic attack. And during this time, it was just an ugly situation.
Are they drinking when they're playing?
I don't think, no, there was no alcohol consumption or anything on the field, in the field area, or in the parking lot.
Okay.
Was it like a championship game? So that there were so.
I mean, we don't know their schedule. We don't know how their league runs. It could have been, being September, being the end of the summer league culmination event. I'm not sure. I mean,
Okay. Was the game in the early part or in July the same league that was in September?
Same team.
Same team.
All right. Oh, same team.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a motion. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of adopting the motion to adopt 4E in the wording, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Andrew's opposed? Or was Don opposed?
No, I said aye.
No, it wasn't me.
Okay, Andrew? Okay. Let's do it again. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No one's opposed. Okay, thank you. And I see Joe just added. Joe, you're here?
I am. Good evening. I'm sorry I'm late.
Okay,
And I am dropping off. I just got here, so I have to drop now.
okay. Thanks, Don.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Donnie.
Okay, thank you.
Bye,
Yeah.
All
everyone.
right, have a good
Bye.
one, Don.
Okay, so we have consent items F and G. Can I have a motion to adopt 4F and G?
I'll make a motion to adopt consent agenda items 4F and 4G.
Second, Andrew? Okay, good, thank you.
That needs to be verbal. Sorry.
I'm
What?
It
sorry,
needs to be
Jennifer.
verbal.
Oh,
Can you
I'm,
second?
I'm sorry.
Say
I-
second.
Yeah, second.
Thank you.
I did.
Okay.
I think I
Okay.
might be breaking, I think I might be actually breaking up sometimes.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you in the beginning. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, thanks. Okay, Parks and Ground monthly report.
So nothing really crazy and exciting. We had a snowstorm and prepared for a blizzard. And just kind of a little back thing on what we do during snowstorms major like this is we actually run a plow truck out of each firehouse. We run ambulance calls and for Hunter's ambulance. So if a resident or something happened during this time, we would plow the ambulance to there. We would shovel the path so the police, ambulance, and fire could access the person's home. We've done it for years. So if anybody asks, hey, what do we do during snowstorms? It's not only plowing the schools, but we're assisting first responders to make sure everybody can be taken care of. For the first time, I think, Debbie, in 7 years, we were lucky enough to have up to 12 inches of ice on our ponds. And I
Yeah,
think they might have been open for 7 or 10 days. The guys did a great job getting out there, snow blowing them, plowing them, and giving the kids and parents time to spend it outside with their kids, which was great. Besides that, everything is pretty much status quo for the Parks and Grounds Department.
and Steve, thanks for letting us know about the light issue and that it was taken care of over the, Monday of the following. So appreciate that.
Yep, and the bad thing about that is the lights that were at Paper Goods were brand new, were never turned on, and they didn't work. They worked when they were installed, but they've never been turned on because we didn't have skating, and
didn't
that's the
have-
only time they're
right.
turned on. And during the 7 years, they died. So we've set up a protocol moving forward that somewhere in October, we will test all skating pond lights to make sure everything is up and operation.
Good.
Right. Okay, any questions? Okay, thanks, Steve.
You're welcome.
Can I just ask, the signs, is that part of your, go ahead.
Okay, so Jen, being involved in animal control, was nice enough to assist in making the several signs that will start to be put up throughout town. So first set of signs that was decided on was the no leash area at the meadow at Bicentennial. So
Okay.
there's a set of signs that'll be installed in the first part of next week that says you are entering an off-leash area and you are leaving an off-leash area. So those are signs number 1 and 2 that were decided by the town manager, Conservation Commission, begrudgingly. So those will go up next week. The next set of signs that are being voted on, or not voted on, but talked about, is going to be what happens when you pull into an area that is not a playing field. Those signs actually came out today, and those will go at Bicentennial, in other places throughout town. And I don't know if Jen included it, but it'll say, I don't know if you guys can see it, but that's sign number 2.
Okay,
Okay,
awesome.
So that'll spell out the areas that are not an athletic field, but a passive recreation. This would apply to Pistol Creek, Bicentennial, Chakowski property, Community Garden, Sheer, Kensington Orchards, etc. Timberland. Those signs would go. So then the next sign we were tasked with was the no dogs on playing field, which is attached in the packet where it'll say no dogs on playing fields. Dogs must be on a leash, which pertains to anything outside the field of play except for Scalise.
Okay.
So those signs are these. Which are
Right.
included in the packet. The fourth sign that has not been designed yet, which will say if you go into Scalise with your dog, you'll be shot and killed. Just kidding. Gotta get somebody to laugh about it. That'll probably pretty much be a sign that'll be bright, illuminated, reflective, kind of like the signs will be at Bicentennial. It'll say no dogs beyond this point. Ordinance section number 3-13. I believe that's one, Jen, we agreed on.
I think 312 or 313.
Something like that. And those signs will be located on each main gate where traffic comes in and out of Scalise Field, because you guys all agreed no dog should be within the confines of the enclosed area
Right.
at Scalise Field.
Wasn't it except a service dog?
Service dogs are allowed, so you don't need signs saying service dogs are
Okay, that's
allowed or
fine.
exceptions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
ADA.
federal rule.
Yeah.
By the way, Andrew, I really, I like the fact that you can talk now, your lips move.
Thanks, Greg.
There's a sign that's at McGee on the fence that already is up like this. It says no dogs on athletic, no dogs must be on a leash. Is that sign, it covers that entire field? It's on the far right end of the fence.
Where the soccer field is?
Yeah,
Correct. Those signs have been up for several years. It's just like one at Bicentennial that says all dogs must be on leash, X,
Okay.
Y, and Z. Those signs are null and void. We will repost those signs. So there should be a sign at the gate going onto the soccer field and on the gate going into the softball, baseball field at McGee. That'll say no dogs on playing field. Should say no dogs allowed past this point, because those are spectator areas. That fence is the perimeters.
And it will
Would you
have the
agree?
new ordinance. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So presumably all the soccer games that are gonna occur there this spring, or BYSA, or the baseball games, that no one's gonna be sitting there in a chair with their dog on the field.
They are allowed to sit where the stands are sitting. They are not allowed to have their dog on the field.
On the field, so,
McGee is the oddball of it, because you have
Yeah.
a soccer field here, a
Right.
softball field, and this.
yeah,
Outside of, so where the home team and the visiting team sits, the dog cannot be within that, because that is the confines of the field.
Yeah.
Outside of that, where the spectator area is in the bleacher area, the dog can sit there with their owner.
on the baseball field, but not necessarily on the
So
soccer.
if you go to the right side of the soccer field, which is not part of the athletic field, which would be right field, center field, and left field, the dog and the dog and the owner can sit on the right side where the bleachers are, but cannot sit in between right field, center field, and left.
All right.
See what I'm getting at?
On the field.
So
Shaded area.
hold on. So that's a problem.
Yeah,
Because the players are supposed to be on the right-hand side of the field,
where the
and the
benches are.
spectators are supposed to be on the left-hand side of the field, right where at that particular park.
Yeah,
Those are soccer rules.
it's gonna be confusing.
It's also going to be very hard for 1.5, a full-time animal control officer and a part-time animal control officer and the police. It's going to be very hard for them to monitor this.
Yeah,
Right now, they are so overwhelmed with just driving their van down the street and still seeing people with their dogs not on a leash, because people have no idea that a leash law was even put into effect. So this is going to take a very long time for people to understand what the new rules are. I oversee animal control. I have told them, at this point, we're not going out and giving tickets right away. This is, a year of education. This is, as you're seeing things, you're going to educate people on, hey,
Sure.
did you know that the town just passed these new ordinances? And let's let people know and give them time to adapt to it. It's not just going to be, I'm
is
going to
there-
show up at a soccer game and start ticketing people.
yeah, no, I know. Is there any way that you could probably reach out to a Berlin Citizen
Yeah.
reporter and try and get them to
So-
write a front page
suppose it-
article?
Yeah, I mean, that was discussed at the ordinance committee. I don't know where they landed on that.
Right.
Yeah,
That's something that would fall under the ordinance committee, as they're the ones that made the new ordinance.
yeah.
Right. So that's something that I had mentioned before. I didn't get it. Well, I was good. I never did call. Orosh was out of town because of his mother. But there should be some kind of rollout, right? That like goes to the Berlin citizen, and then to connect that with the police department. And what I had mentioned previously is I think it's going to be difficult, like Tony said, to try to implement this. But
Yeah.
once it goes out, to have them just drive around some of these areas on particular times and then tell the people that. And then after a while, I'm sure it's probably going to go away because it's going to be tough to
Right.
manage, but at least to back up what was in the newspaper, at least some visible way, right? So.
So
That's
I can only tell you from the citizen, right? It's very hard to get things published there. They decide, no, we're not going to publish even a letter. from
Yeah, I
people. They had a one reporter, I guess she's probably still around, I don't know, but even if you write your own piece that the town has done this for a number of things, they decide not to publish it, that
Yeah.
it's very hard to put it in. I did read about the ordinance, it was on Facebook, and also I don't know, it must have been the New Britain Herald if it hasn't been in the Citizen, but I thought there was an article on it. Again, if people read the newspaper,
Yeah.
so I agree. It's going to be education, and it's up to the people that are there to let people know.
So in the fall, we're gonna have football games, and that nice couple with their old dog is gonna come walking in because they're not gonna have any idea. And
So
they're gonna sit
perhaps,
down
right.
3 rows in front of me with their dog and watch the game, just like they did.
But again, you're a commissioner. You can certainly say something, and you
I
can,
walk up to them and show them my credentials and say, hey.
right. And just like I've actually done that at Percival, I'm sorry, Pistol Creek, taking walks, just say, hey, your dog's supposed to be on a leash. I happen to be on Parks and Rec Commission. They don't ask for my credentials. They've never, but I'd appreciate if you put them back on a leash.
And by the fall, Tony, there's going to be a sign on Scalee saying no dog beyond that point.
So
The other thing is,
they
though, Tony,
come up anyways. Who's
so you
responsible
call the police.
for
You call the
enforcing
police.
that?
You call
I mean,
the police.
there are police on site at football
Yeah.
games.
Okay.
You're going to tell the police, and they're educated on the ordinance, but also maybe as a heads up, and I don't know who these people are, but through boosters or whatever, you can maybe make it known and remind people about the playing fields.
Yeah,
No
that's a
dogs
good
are,
point. I can bring
yeah.
that up.
That might help. I don't know.
I mean, I want stuff thrown at me during a meeting. That's great. It's perfect.
Really?
An additional responsibility.
Yeah. Okay.
I just have one question though. So getting back to McGee for soccer,
Yeah.
I mean, the parents are always on at this point, the left-hand west side of the field, because
Yeah.
soccer says that, where the teams are on one side, the parents or the spectators on the other. So I think it would be, I mean, I don't know I don't think it's a good idea to try to enforce that, because they've been doing this for years, right? For travel games, for rec games. It's
Yes.
what's required. They can't sit, and we don't even allow them to sit at the ends of the field.
Maybe you guys think about it.
Well, there's no, Donna, in due respect, there's no thinking. This is what the rules are, and this is what
No, not.
Well, maybe
I know
you
the
guys,
rules. I'm asking Steve, think about it. If I remember, it's been a long time since I've been back at McGee, so I guess I should look at it before I speak. So, but maybe
Greg,
it's something to
can you
consider.
guys-
Obviously, you can't have the spectators on the right side, so you got to have them
Right.
on the left.
you guys at BYSA, can you bring this up during a board meeting that this is the issue and maybe you pass it down to the coaches to instruct their families so they know if they're going to bring a dog, what the rule is. So you're better off leaving your dog home
Yeah.
Well,
for that hour.
well, I know, but that's the only field where this is impacted
Yeah.
of all
Right,
the
but-
fields, right?
Right, you just let them know. I mean, it's just, again, it's good to let people know if you feel comfortable doing that, because then, they're kind of on notice and
All right.
most
So-
people are going to be okay with
All right.
it. So
So I guess my point is, I guess my point is that it shouldn't apply there. I understand what's been said, right? But I think it's, I check a lot of games and, parents bring their dogs, you got the little kids there, they're watching the game. All right. So, I mean, they've always done it. I don't think it's going to be any more or less impactful than, any other place, except for the fact that the outfield happens to be there,
right,
right?
if they're encroaching on the field though, and
Oh, it's right across the lot.
Greg, you were at the town council meeting. I wish you spoke in audience, or the ordinance, you should feel free, and everybody should feel free to bring these types of issues up and, let them know about it. That wasn't one of the things that we noted in our letter to them, I
Right.
mean,
In all honesty, I didn't think that was going to be an issue, right?
yeah, no, I know
Right.
there's going to be things like this, but I mean, we just don't want them damaging the field.
Not
So,
just there,
and
too,
that
it's
is the ordinance.
Hubbard.
It's not going to change. It's already a law, it's an ordinance. They're going to follow it to the extent that they do. So,
Not the trouble, but I think it's not going to be a problem at Sage 2, Hubbard, McGee.
Right.
The big areas of the problems are the people who take their dog to Dennehy and let them run free. The people that take their dog inside Centerelli and let them run free. It's not the family who has the dog who has him as a leash and they're sitting watching Johnny play or Susie.
Right.
It's
Right.
the person who's going there and letting their dog continuously run around a field unleashed. It's the person that's going to Bicentennial, Pistol Creek, or any of these other areas, taking their dog off the leash and just letting them run. It's not
Right.
Scalise is the difference because Scalise has got 2 sets of fences and a large spectator area where somebody could possibly be allergic to a dog, and Tony could be allergic to a dog, and a family comes up and sit next to him. Tony doesn't want to be the bad guy, but somebody needs to enforce the rule. Like the rules is going to be enforced properly where need be. If somebody has a problem, they call the dog warden. The dog warden is going to come to McGee and be like, "Hey, by the way, I'm sorry, but you can't have your dog here, but you can have your dog here."
yeah, fair enough. Okay, any further discussion? Anything else on the dog park and leash ordinance? Jen, Steve?
Nope, that was it.
Okay. Percival soccer field update?
Just like you said, you wanted it on the agenda. There's really no update.
Yeah.
Steve and I are finalizing the RFP and we hope to go out to bid soon.
Are you guys still on a timeline to get everything started and completed, in the fall?
Yes.
All right.
Okay, state of Connecticut grant update.
So you'll see in your packet, the appendix A scope of work, I labeled it section 5D. We had a big agenda package, so I tried to label things to make it easier for you guys. This is not an RFP for these jobs. This is taken straight from the grant application, which that's why it's only a few sentences. I just wanted you guys to be aware, we are very, very close to signatures. I think we need one more signature and approval from the AG's office. We hope to have it like by the end of this month, they said. We just wanted to give you a heads up that these projects are the ones that are being approved in the grant. The scoreboard replacement, which will be spearheaded by Doug Solik of facilities. And he has basically said that the first thing he has to do is get all the fiber out onto the field. There was a quote for that so that we had a number for the grant application. Obviously, per the grant application, the rule is you have to go out to bid. So that will be going out to bid after we have everything signed and everything. It will not disrupt any field of play. It will not disrupt anything in the parking lot. The only thing it might disrupt, and this is a long ways away, this is when they actually install the scoreboard, if it, is on a day of a game, obviously they would avoid that and anything, but that's pretty much it. Doug said if anything comes up that becomes an issue, he'll let me know. He'll come to the commission, but for now, he's just wanting everyone to know that once everything is signed off and the grant is approved, we are allowed to start spending money. So he plans to figure out how to go out to bid for all the fiber. There's still the option, they got two quotes, one where the fiber will be on the external side of all the poles, and the other one where it will go underneath the poles and kind of a trench type thing underground. The two quotes were very different, so that's why he wants to go out to bid and see what the best option is. The other
Is that-
project is.
Jen,
I'm
is-
sorry,
is-
Greg,
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
yeah. Is that gonna replace the scoreboard that's there? Or is it gonna go in?
Yes.
Okay,
It's a scoreboard replacement, yep.
all right.
The other project is Piscoggio Fields, which I'm gonna let Steven kind of give you the 411 on that and what that plan is. We talked about it a little bit last month, so hopefully it's just a refresher.
Yep, just to circle back to that is, now that the word has hit the street regarding that the money is coming in, the signature is being signed, and now everybody wants to just immediately jump forward and start moving forward. And the calls Jen and I both received is, okay, how soon can we have it done? Is it going to be ready for the fall
Fall
of
season.
2022? And we're going to say this publicly every time somebody asks us. Our goal is not to displace any organization or group that uses the track or inside the track. Berlin High School's track season starts in March and ends in June. That is their only place that they can have track, the only place they can run track, the only place they can do anything. There is going to be a makeshift bridge for the large trucks to get over the track, to get in to do the construction work inside the bowl of the stadium we will speak of. So therefore, that track will become unavailable to the residents and to the high school track. If the high school athletics and the school itself for phys ed wants to say to us, hey, we're okay with starting this construction in March, then we will bring it back to the commission. But Jen and I both strongly believe this construction is earmarked to start June of 2023. It'll carry on through the summer in displacing the fall, which becomes a big problem where we're going to put all these teams, with a completion date of somewhere around November 1st to November 15th of 2023. That's where we're at. And for many reasons, we go back to the geo boring. To go out there and do the geo boring, they're going to have to drill holes throughout this field. If we drill these holes right before the beginning of the football season or right before the beginning of the track season, there is a good chance, or the flag football season for the younger kids, there's a good chance somebody go out there and fall in one of these holes and get hurt. We might have a heavy rain one day. It might settle. You might have a 2-inch hole where somebody could possibly seriously injure themselves. And that's not our game plan. Our game plan is to make sure that we give them a safe, playable surface throughout the course of the year. I think
Great.
that wraps up the track. Any questions?
You and Jen are overseeing that project, that portion of this project.
Yes,
Correct.
Steve and I will be co-project managers for Piscoggio.
So facilities is doing the scoreboard, you guys are doing this part.
Correct.
I am part of the scoreboard and that as well.
Okay,
So just going back on past experiences, the reason I ask about if they're replacing the exact scoreboard, which I think they would, is there any plan in case something gets hung up? I'm sure one's going to have to come down, the other one's going to have to go up. So it's
That
not going
is-
to be impacting any games.
Yeah, that is something that they will make sure that they discuss with the companies as well as the athletic director.
Thank you.
And just FYI, when I was on that commission where they identified the monies, we had a fairly lengthy conversation with the superintendent and an athletic director about, who's going to monitor that scoreboard, who's going to run it. And so that all has to be planned from their viewpoint if they're going to run that new scoreboard, when it's operational for the high school games. And Tony, I just mentioned that because I know you're with boosters and everything. You keep that in the back of your mind. There's a lot to running this new scoreboard. It's an
a lot.
NFL.
I've been told
It's
it's
an
a tremendous
NFL
amount.
scoreboard.
Yeah, you have to have a degree to be able to run the scoreboard.
Yeah. And so
And,
they didn't have a plan then.
no, I know they don't.
So, I mean, we'll see. But that's up to the school system to decide.
What's the slated timetable for that scoreboard? Is it this year or next year?
It's hard to say because it's still dependent on, if we actually get the paperwork by the end of the month all finalized and everything. I think it depends on how quickly Doug gets out to bid and gets those fiber costs and how long of an installation that is. And I'm not really familiar with it. I don't know that he's going to have it up for the beginning of the fall season. And I think he's been transparent about that with Joe and, the AD, but it's all a wait and see. It's hard because we literally cannot do anything until the grant is 100% done.
Well, again, because of the bathrooms, I would hate to see this thing being kind of pushed in August or September, and then there be problems or trouble, or we're not prepared with the operators, and here we go with the same old problem of not having a working scoreboard or anyone to operate it.
Before, once the bids are in, I think it's appropriate that maybe, we invite Doug to a meeting to kind of go through the plan. Again, we asked him, and he agrees, so that we have the timeline and we can
The
talk
bids
about that.
for-
But as
the bid-
far as operating that scoreboard, it was very clear, it's the responsibility of the school system, not, Doug Solik has nothing to do with it. Jen has nothing to
Right.
do with
No, I know.
it.
I know.
So,
Yeah, the operation, I don't even see us when we're renting out Scalise Field. We at this point, we don't rent out that scoreboard.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's not part of our rental policy at all.
Right.
So you want Doug to come in after the bids are received for the fiber?
what I think,
Installation?
he gets the bids, and then when he's thinking about his plan and timeline, before that's finalized, I'd like to have him come to our meeting and explain the timeline so that
Once
we
he
all
has it,
understand it and we talk about it. I think that's the appropriate time.
Yes.
Any other thoughts on that? Okay. That would be helpful.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. Parks and Rec, Deb, monthly report.
Yes, well, I submitted it. I don't know if anyone has any questions. We had
Still-
another little hiccup with basketball. Right after Martin Luther King weekend or week, we had 12 cases of COVID, coaches. The entire girls program was canceled that next Saturday because of COVID. So I think we've cleared, we've cleared it at this point because we've had like one or two random, which has not had a big impact, which is good. Or they're not telling me, which could also be part of it, but I think that they've been pretty good about letting me know. So, and then of course we ran into snow, so we lost one weekend because of snow, but we only have 4 more weeks left, which the season's going by pretty fast. So fingers crossed that we can get through, and who knows, we may have our last game. Everyone may be maskless, so that I think they would be happy.
Yeah.
But we'll see whatever the school decides. I think the 23rd, there's a meeting, so I would imagine it's gonna come up to decide once the state finalizes everything, so we'll see what happens.
And for the part-time position, I know you had troubles before. Are you still posting that, or?
There might be something in the works. Not prepared to discuss it at this point, so I'm hopeful that the next meeting I can tell you that we have someone hired, but I'm not
Okay.
prepared to do that at this time. It's still in the works.
Okay, great. Okay, any questions for Debbie? Okay, I do see someone else joined us, Susan. I'm not sure, anybody's welcome to join. And just so, I haven't seen that name before, just to let you know, this is the Berlin Parks and Rec Zoom monthly meeting, and you're welcome to stay, so. Okay, next on the agenda is the Park and Rec Commission annual report. So each year we're asked to do an annual report, and it's based on the calendar year. That provides the highlights that the commission department were able to accomplish. It was in your packet. I worked on it with Jen. Any questions? I don't know if you want to go through it in detail, but this is something that goes to the town clerk, right, Jen? Right, town clerk, and they include it in the annual report, which
Yep.
comes out later this year, in June.
Donna, my question is, why is the Sage Park restrooms renovations listed on this?
Because they were completed during the year.
But we didn't do it. It wasn't our job. So why are we?
No, but it was done within the park area. We didn't complete it. The department didn't complete it, but it was completed and it's part of the
Part of Sage Park.
the fields, the
Okay.
park. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Any other questions, thoughts? Okay,
Just so you guys know, this is something that is submitted by the commission. This isn't me, Debbie, and Steve writing this. This is, Donna and I work together, but I just want you guys to know that this is a document that's submitted from the commission.
right. But Jen, we don't have to vote on it, right? I mean, we just, okay. we
No,
can-
it's technically something that you as the chair write up and submit.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everybody saw it, and if there was anything missing, if you ever
absolutely.
thought anything was missing, please let us know. So went through all the minutes and everything. We made sure that we
Yeah, we'll draw the
had
agendas.
everything on there. Okay, Community and Senior Center update, just to let you know. Let's see, we had our February meeting last week. I'm losing track, but in any event, it was a good meeting. Kevin Delaney joined us, Finance Director. He presented estimated impact on mill rate based on what ended up, it was presented as 36 million. Right now, the conceptual design has a cost identified of 35.7 million, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And so he obviously rounded to 36, but based on questions, when you go out to bonding, you can do this premium bonding. And really, the mill rate impact was based on a $40 million cost. There's about a 10% premium bonding that you get, so you actually borrow less because you get money up front. So, but he presented that, and you could see that in the minutes. We had a lot of questions were coming up. The Tom Arcari, the architect, joined us, as well as a member of the building commission to talk about costs. And unfortunately, we are where we are as far as there's inflation going on. There's a supply chain issue, and it's very hard to estimate what that conceptual design would cost today, or even 2 years from now, if that's the timing, if we were to move ahead and start building. So it's very, very difficult. He said, hey, it could come in at that number, could come in 10% over, he goes, it's very hard until we go out and get a contractor and bids and things like that. So it was more listening, questions were asked, and I think there'll be more discussion at our next meeting, which is February 24th. What else did we did? We talked about that. It was noted that Larson's office was contacted for potential federal funding. And his office was provided with the materials, the 2 statement of needs, as well as the conceptual design video. And there may be some, they may be invited to a future meeting at some point. So February 24th, the Y, Meriden Y Executive Director, John Benigni, is going to join us.
Donna, just so you know, we don't have confirmation from him yet. I reached out to him again, and he's still checking with his team to see if that date works for him.
Oh, okay, because
So-
I thought that it was confirmed that and that's why we set the meeting.
No,
date.
I reached out to him the next day, right after our meeting, and he said, I'll check with my team and let you know. And a week
Okay.
passed and I hadn't heard back, so I reached out to him again and he said, I'm still waiting to hear from some people. So my hope is that because I explained to him how hard it is for us to schedule another
Yeah.
meeting with the
Does
entire commission.
Brendan's aware, obviously.
I emailed him this
Okay.
morning.
Okay. Well, supposedly we're having a meeting February 24th. It was set up because what I heard was that John Benigni was all set for that date, but I guess that might be up in the air. They had delayed coming in at our last meeting because we provided what I think is pretty thoughtful questions, quite a number of questions about operations. It's obviously another option to consider. And based on the questions that they received, they asked not to come in at the February 3rd meeting, but to come in the future. They needed more time to prepare, which is fine. Would want them to be prepared. And so February 24th, maybe it's going to be another date. We'll see. The one thing that I did learn that I'll just pass on, I hadn't heard this before, but it was probably said. So there is that emergency exit. If you remember, that it would be something in the future that would be built, but there'd be a road on the back end, emergency exit going out to Lower Lane.
Yep.
But in order to do that, one thing that I learned from a question that was raised was the town does not own all of the land at the back end. There is some, and I don't know who owns it, but there is some land, but they do have an easement. But so in order to do that, obviously there's more than just putting the road in and, any flooding issues and handling that. They'd have to get involved in perhaps purchasing the land, and I'm not sure how the easement rules work, but I was not aware of that, but it's at the very far back side. There's plenty of room for the current conceptual design, and including the current conceptual design is also, if the town ever decided to add on another 15,000 square feet that they could add on to the facility, if that was ever something. So there's enough land for those things, but just for that road. So I just mentioned that to you guys if you didn't know that already.
That road would have been under like 4 feet of water this past fall with all
Well,
the
again,
storms we had. It was,
again, there's flooding issues, and we brought that up too in the meeting, but they were aware of that there would be certain ways that they would put the road in, maybe bridges, and then going into Lower Lane, how that's all flooded,
Yeah.
So whether or not that would be a further improvement at some point down the road, don't know, but yeah. It was a good meeting, a little disappointed. I thought there were going to be a couple of presentations by the building commission, and then, I was surprised that Tom Arcari was there. I thought it was good because he's very knowledgeable about that conceptual design. So it was okay. I was pleased to see more people attending the meetings, audience of citizens, and again, I encourage people to continue joining. And again, from our viewpoint on the commission, I will let you know, or Jen can let us know when a date is confirmed for the Y, in case you're interested in joining us at that meeting. So I think that's a pretty good summary. It was, again, good meeting. We did go to the Meriden Y. We visited the Meriden Y, and there were 3 of our team, along with Debbie, went to Putnam, which is the newest Y in the state of Connecticut. And they didn't really, Debbie, you weren't at the meeting, but other than, the operating income statement, they really didn't talk about likes or dislikes or whatever, but I think that will probably be presented in the next meeting.
Yeah, the facility was beautiful, but it's a brand new facility, so if it really wasn't, then they didn't do a good job. So there were a lot of, like, their fitness room was like powerhouse gym, something that we would never need anything quite as large as that. But yeah, it was a nice facility. They don't really, I mean, Wise concentrate on, you know, a couple areas for childcare and then fitness. The pool, they had a gym, they had a pool, where I think our facility that we would hopefully do would have more like meeting rooms where we have groups come in, more of a community building than theirs, or, you know, their facilities are whatever they have there, they're running programs to make money, where some of the things that we're looking for to bring the community in, like we have at their current community center, where groups come in and they're able to have meetings. So, but yeah, Putnam was a nice facility, and they actually draw people from Rhode Island and Massachusetts to their facility. So
Yeah, because
it was interesting. Yeah.
and Putnam is part of the Hartford Y Regional, whereas Berlin, we're part of Meriden, Berlin, New Britain. So, and, you know, I should note too, the other discussion is based on the bonding requirements. The council is looking for us to be done sometime middle of April. And the mayor was at our meeting, and so I think what will probably be done, but I'm, you know, again, to be discussed, is that the mayor mentioned that perhaps our advisory committee would present our report to the town council and to the town at the same time. So have a meeting maybe at the high school or McGee or whatever, and do it at the same time, and invite the public to it as well. So that might happen. I did send them an email with the vacation for the high school or for the school system to make sure that they avoid that. We do, you know, the budget referendum is coming up at the end of April, so it'll be a busy time, but I think they were talking about a date of April 19th. Nothing's been decided, and we'll see. But so we have, our advisory committee has a lot of work to do between now and then. So hopefully we'll be meeting more frequently to get things accomplished. So.
Donna, just one quick question on the bonding issue. Understanding that the costs are probably going to be higher, could be much higher. When I don't know, I'm just asking, when you go about this, I mean, if they say they want to, you know, bond 40 million and the project tends to be, let's say 45 or 50 for ha-has, I mean, what kind of, I guess, what happens to prepare for that unintended consequence, I guess?
So I really don't know all the rules, but I think for that question, and it depends on what the town council decides to, first of all, if they go to a referendum
Right.
for anything, and then if they should agree to go to referendum, let's say for this conceptual design, and they could do it a number of ways. They, you know, they could say, they would ask the people to vote on a referendum to say to spend no more than, say,
Right.
40 million.
Mhm.
And if the costs come in at 45, because you don't do the bids until after the referendum, because no
Right.
one's going to give you a bid unless they know you're going to do it, then now you got those decisions to make, which is going to happen throughout any process like this, where
Sure.
you're going to have to cut, you know, to get down to that amount. Or you go back to referendum, like in the high school, remember it failed, they went back, and, you know, you could go back and say, you know, we're going to have to spend more, you know, but the people have to approve it. Again, depends on how they set up any referendum that they do. So, yeah.
Just one other quick question, because you triggered something. When they talked about the mill rate, did they talk about what the impact would be?
Yes, yes.
What was it?
So so there were, I don't have it in front of me,
Okay.
but it is public information. And,
All right.
you know, certainly
I'll-
I can get it for you as well, but.
I remember. So right now,
Well, I was, Jen, just before, so there were 3 different amortization schedules that
Mhm.
Kevin presented, one being that you would amortize the cost over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Yeah.
In his preference, from his professional opinion, and Kevin's pretty good, you know, he said, I would do it over 10 years, which obviously adds to the mill rate cost.
Mhm.
And the mill rate, I think at the high end, I'm just going to say it was around 2.07 or something. I remember it being the highest point during those 10 years that
Right.
the mill rate impact for that piece, the building piece, right? Assuming 40 million. And then the 15-year option, as you do 15 or 20 years, as you know, like a mortgage, you add a lot more in interest.
Right.
So although the impact to the taxpayer could,
Be less.
it would be less,
Yeah.
right? But over a longer period of time, you end up paying a lot
Yeah,
more for that
right.
facility. But Jen, go ahead.
Yeah, it was to add the 36 mil to the budget as part of bonding, it would change the mill rate to go up to. So you'd go from 33.97 to 36. And that's just for the construction of the building.
Right, and that is, and again, in the amortization, every year is a different mill rate impact.
Sure.
That was the highest it was at the 10-year, the 2.07. I think it's like the third year or second year, it's the
Yeah,
highest
once he
point.
started about that was finance talk and I was
Yeah,
so
the
confused.
other point, obviously, a lot of good discussion on it, both sides and everything, but the one thing that I did ask Kevin noted that Berlin's debt is third highest in the state. And I really don't know whether that was per capita or, I think it was as a percentage of your operating budget. And he made mention that a good operating budget debt should be no more than 4 to 5% of your operating budget.
Mhm.
And Berlin has been high. They
The high
bonded
school.
a lot of things. They had the high school. But when you look at the debt levels in 2026, based on our payment record, which they've done a very good job over the years, recent years, in 2026, our bonding gets down to $40 million.
Mhm.
Okay. Right now, at the end of last year was like 81 million. So in a couple of years or 4 years, it goes down to 40, which is very positive. So now you tack on 40 million, right? So I asked Kevin in his professional opinion, because people were concerned about our bond rating, which is AAA, best rating you can get. They like what Berlin has done and they like our story. And Kevin, in his professional opinion, said that he did not believe that adding 40 million of debt would impact that AAA rating. And it kind of makes sense because, again, it's a story. I know I was in finance when I worked. These S&P rating agencies, they all want to hear, what's the story? Why are you doing this? In municipalities, from what I understand, they want to make sure you're taking care of the infrastructure. And the biggest question is, can the town, the taxpayers, afford it? Hartford would get killed if they added, that kind of debt because their taxpayers can't afford it. Supposedly Berlin, is wealthy enough to afford something like that. But again, there's more to be done. And like Jen said, this is the building. And then there's the operating costs offset by operating revenues. And I know that they're starting to work on that to come up with the programs that would be offered, which is the first piece. And then, financials always follow. What are you going to offer people? So that's being worked on now and has not, they just started. So that will take a little while, but what will be the impact? And as I mentioned before in a meeting, at a visit to Newtown, which operates 3 pools, included in their center, their, I'll say, net loss after revenues for the community center and costs was 600,000. And their goal is to get it to break even. So that 600, let's just assume if you come up with an operating loss of 600,000, that would also be funded by the taxpayers, again, if you go with that option. So In addition to, there'd be memberships for the pool or whatever is decided for the membership. So, lot to explain. There's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of options to look at. So,
All right, so I thank you for that. That was very detailed and helpful. So from a revenue, the operating revenue, I mean, have they thought? I understand the programs, but if some of those programs could get to, have, let's say you don't go with the Y, which I don't know what's going to happen with that. If you go to focus therapy, right? I mean, what kind of revenue can be garnered from that? I mean, to offer them the facility where they have a pool that's warmer, where they actually could do something could be beneficial. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out
right?
there.
They towns do that, right? So Mansfield, for instance, they run. They have select therapy come in and actually do physical therapy in the pools and whatever their deal is,
Right.
for that. But yes, you could do that as well.
Maybe we
Yeah.
get naming rights, huh? Cool.
Well, that's part of the funding, and I'm glad to hear, with Larson and might be others that are contacted on the federal side. Their state reps have been to our meeting, and hopefully they're thinking it through. But those, again, the funding, unfortunately, when you go to referendum, you can't promise the taxpayers that you have that funding unless someone just gives you the money right now.
Sure.
And so, although you work on it, it has to be, shovel ready type stuff. The federal government may be a little different. I don't know that, but that's why, there's some discussions going on there on the funding. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, good process, a lot of work.
Thank you, Donna.
Hopefully we meet more. Okay, anything else?
I just had a couple questions. Jen, you guys have a calendar of field usage that I'm sure you must have in your office. We just approved a bunch of people using, Scalise. Is there a calendar that you guys can, or a listing, like a chronological order listing of field usage that you can include in a package to us?
So a few things. One, we are still inputting requests for the spring. Spring requests aren't due until March 1st. So we're actually just starting to data enter everything we've gotten on. We used to send, back before I started, there used to be a calendar that went out to all field users once everything was data entered. And unfortunately, people would see that and see that there was an opening, say like on Scalise Field or Sage Auxiliary or anything. And then they would just go and not go through our office to make the proper reservations. So we don't like to share our completed calendars. If anyone wants to know if a field is available, they can reach out to me and I can always get back to them.
I'm not asking for that purpose, I guess, about, field availability. I'm looking to see, we just talked about the football games last year, the semi-pro. I didn't know that they were renting the fields at all, twice. And, I guess I'm just looking to see from meeting to meeting when any field is being used by somebody. So not necessarily, what's available, but just a chronological listing of the next 30 days of field usage.
I mean, our fields are used starting April 1st all the way, until the end of the spring season, and then they lighten up in July and August, and then they pretty much fill up. I mean, we get calls from outside groups, we have regular groups, we have all our youth sports, we have the high school. I guess I'm kind of trying to understand exactly what you're looking for and how I can provide that without getting the public information out there.
And just Tony, just so you know, so if she was gonna, and Jen, chime in if I'm wrong, but if you presented the next 30 days, other people are coming in the next morning and saying, hey, we want to rent this field, and we wouldn't know that until after the fact. Are you looking backwards or?
Well, I guess I'm looking to look at it this way. So say for instance, we just rented the field to the Lorenzo and John Paul Demko for a football camp in June, right?
Mhm.
Do they also use the building?
They will probably, actually, no, they don't usually use the building. They'll use the porta potties. Max, Paul, and Alex.
So nobody gets in the building when they're using it?
Only if they make that request and work with a ground staff to make sure it's unlocked.
So say,
Max and Alex are both, regular field users. We've never had any issues with them. If they wanted to use the building, I wouldn't see a problem with it. And I stay in constant contact with the grounds department and the custodial staff if people are using the building. So they make sure that, hey, if we have a big event on a Sunday, the custodial staff knows that Monday morning they need to go out there to clean.
And they would,
so
they
they,
would pay for, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Donna. So
I
the
was gonna
example of like last fall with the concession stands, and that particular week, they showed up to do their concession stand on that Saturday and they found the freezer not working. Does somebody check the kitchen or the bathrooms to make sure everything's working before somebody gets to use the facility?
Yeah, the facilities department has a copy of our schedule when somebody has a big event coming up. The custodians are out there every Monday and Friday during the season to clean. Woody's guys are out there quite a bit.
I'm out there.
So,
Mhm.
so say for instance, that in that particular case, it's a Saturday and Sunday jamboree thing. Somebody's gonna go, and we know that, because they came through us to use the building for a jamboree, to use the kitchen area. Somebody goes through that kitchen to make sure everything's working correctly.
As far as I know, facilities checks, the facilities, because they have to get approved. Everything has to get going through the health department and get passed. So if it got through the health department and then all of a sudden one weekend it didn't work, if no one tells us that a group was there and found it didn't work, I don't know that the facilities department would know that. I don't go out personally and check everything in the concession stand when renting to a field. But we do send copies of our schedules
so-
to the facilities
To
department.
avoid that happening, they showed up and the freezer wasn't working. And, the health department apparently is the one that discovered it. Okay? During the
Correct, and I
inspection.
was never notified of that,
And
so
they
I
told-
can't tell a field user if I'm not notified
But
of
they
something.
told facilities,
Mm-hmm.
okay, which is fine, that's what's supposed to happen. And they start working on whatever they gotta do. But this group shows up to use it and now they're stuck.
Mhm.
And
that's
we
because I
rented
was-
them the field. I mean. we
Right, and I
waived
was
it.
never notified that the fridge didn't work, and that was addressed after the fact. But I
Right, so
wasn't
that's
notified.
why I'm asking you, how do we avoid that from happening?
We
So,
have
Is
better
there a-
communication with the facilities department, which we've already put in place.
Is there like an inspections, that happens for every time somebody wants to use the field or the building or something? Somebody.
I don't believe they do an inspection every time there's a rental.
So it would seem to me that, I don't know what they do, but I mean, if you're gonna have a big function on the weekend, that somebody from facilities should go out there and to ensure that the stuff
Yes.
is working, right? I mean, because they're gonna find out soon enough. If they're showing up there
Yes.
with frozen food, then frankly, they'll probably be there the day before maybe to bring all
And
that
that-
frozen food out. So I
Yes,
mean,
and that is why we send our schedules to the facilities department.
well, yeah, I understand. But to Tony's point, I mean, it should be part of their operational work to make sure if they know on this certain day or days that the concession stand is going to be used, then somebody should go out there to ensure that everything's in working order. That's all I'm saying. I know it's
And
not.
I will reiterate that to the facilities department again.
Or the bathrooms too. That's why I asked about if the building is being used. Last I recall, weren't there 2 toilets and 2 sinks that were not working?
Now,
I mean, they were in November. I don't know if they are now or not. I have no idea.
I don't know.
all right, so Jen, maybe you can have a discussion with Doug, find out
Mhm.
what his process is once you notify him. And, you can share with them our discussion about like a checklist and make sure. Now,
Not a
and
problem.
I don't know, maybe you guys, know this answer. The health department, for how often do they have to go out and inspect? Is it based on if there's an event going, they have to check for every event?
I believe it's the beginning of the season. They clear the
Okay,
concession stand
okay,
for the season,
yeah.
but I'm not positive. Don't quote me on that because I'm not involved in that.
So Doug maybe just clarify that. And all I'm just thinking is it sounded like the health department found it. facilities went to work on it, but the team was never notified because Jen was never notified and couldn't tell the user. So.
Correct. And
yeah,
that was
no,
addressed.
So that communication has to be improved, and we should be knowledgeable about the process that they go through to make sure things are working.
Well,
I
and
think the health department does, they will go out and if it's a big event, they'll go out and make a, do an inspection, because I've heard from other groups that they have showed up when they're in there. So
Well,
there's
when
no
they're-
schedule on it, but they do.
Well, they do
And
it when you pull the permit.
They do it when you pull the permit, and then periodically the health department, at least Tony, when we were doing baseball, they periodically show up and do a spot inspection.
Yep.
Yeah, so
They've
during-
stated
And
the health
that's hap-
department has showed up at the senior center and done a spot inspection.
Yeah, right.
They have that right,
Right.
once you have a permit.
That happens
That's their
during the
prerogative,
event.
right?
And I think
Yep.
what Tony's issue is, how do we make sure things are working for someone to get there and make sure they can count on it?
not just the
Mhm.
kitchen, but the bathrooms, whatever.
Yeah,
There's
no,
a
no,
lot of-
no,
There's
I
a lot of
agree,
groups
yeah.
that use it, obviously, and if somebody fails to report it, then what?
right,
We don't know about it.
right.
And I'm not gonna go to Sage every day to see if somebody's using it, since you don't want to tell me who's using it.
It's not that I don't want to tell you, it's just once it goes to the commission, it becomes public information, and we've had issues with getting the field reservation schedules out there into the public in the past.
I don't think there'd be any issue though if Tony, wants to take a look at the schedule and contacts you privately, Jen, and you go through it with them, just to let them know.
I'll set
Not a
up a
problem at
weekly
all.
appointment with Jen every week and come down to her office and look at her schedule.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be an issue. I can appreciate Jen's position about not making it public. I remember in the past that all of a sudden people are showing up in fields. So when we used to publicize it and they had a big schedule and all that, so,
Mhm. Okay.
okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, not hearing anything, take a motion to
I'd
adjourn.
like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Greg. Second, all right, Joe, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Good meeting.
you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jen.
you, guys.
you.
Have a nice
Thank you,
evening,
Steph.
everyone.
Take
Yeah.
care.
Night.
Take care, bye.